Welcome to today's Orchestrator weekly meeting. Let's see what we have on the agenda today. We have 4 topics. That's great. So we have the first topic is to display error warning messages to the user, like leveraging Ceph Health to propagate error messages that we have to the user. That did pop up, that topic, in a few pull requests already. And I hope we can improve things here. At least Mike can improve things here a bit. So I think, Mike, your idea was to basically just provide an error message for the spec validation. If the spec validation doesn't work or fails, then we propagate that as an error to the user using Ceph Health, right? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's one part of it. And then the other part is if, for whatever reason, we fail to redeploy or reconfigure a daemon or something else happens outside of spec validation, we need some way to be able to go from maybe a point in time in the logs, the event logs, and show any errors or any context, generate health warnings for those. And so maybe that's a check from create daemon, maybe that's something else, but to be determined. But most of the info is there if you do a ls with a format YAML. You can see in the event logs the errors. This is more making this visible via health check.
Mm-hmm.
So the anticipated workflow is that you do something, and then by chance you see either in the dashboard or in your health output that something is wrong. And well, then you try to fix it. And what then? I mean, does it resolve on the next iteration automatically, or do you tell Ceph ADM that it is resolved?
Yeah, we have to provide an automatic way to resolve it. I mean,
not sure if we can,
right? We some kind of have to provide an automatic way to resolve it. At least that's the way health warnings work, right? They are resolved as soon as the problem is gone.
Which in our case is just every 6 minutes.
I think that would be okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay.
As long as it gets resolved automatically.
I can just imagine that debugging something that you are not 100% sure how to resolve is a pain if the status updates every 6 minutes.
If you call apply, it will be scheduled.
Right.
Not
talking specifically about specs. I mean, if we leverage this health warning thing for more than just specs, I mean, this could be anything, right? And if you have to do something to resolve it, and then you wait, and then, well, it's still there, and then you do something again, and then you wait 6 minutes, and it's still there. I can imagine that this is getting quite annoying.
Which
maybe,
is already annoying because you don't really have a way to call the surf loop thread automatically. There is no way to do that right now. I mean,
Right, so yeah, this is where I'm getting at, right? So we do have a way to kick the surf loop internally. Should we, give this access to the user? To, let's say, here, do your checks or do whatever. Should we do that, or is that a very bad idea?
I mean, the problem is that, for example, if you call Ceph alt ls -- refresh, that just doesn't work. I mean, it potentially can make Ceph ADM completely unresponsive.
Right, but that's a different thing, right?
Not really.
That's a
Not really. Ceph alt ls. If Ceph alt ls -- refresh makes Ceph ADM unresponsive, we have to provide an alternative. And that might be that we don't actually refresh Ceph alt ls at that point.
That should be like basically everything that we do asynchronous. So,
But maybe we can just reuse Ceph alt ls -- refresh as just kicking the surf loop.
sounds a bit hacky to me, but
I think I've implemented what you wanted to do for like my own personal testing before. You just add like I just made something like def ADM. I just put that in my own personal builds, and it just calls that kick servlet thread or function.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know if that's safe, but I've only ever done it for my own personal builds. But you could rename that, to def orch -- refresh or something like that. Would actually call that kick servlet function just to get that instant refresh of the cluster.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if this might have any side effects. So
yeah,
if
I don't know if that's entirely safe.
And he calls it like 10 times after another, and then basically forcing the refresh every time, and then because I think we don't have any kind of testing for this scenario where the surf loop gets triggered over and over and over again. I can imagine we hit some bugs there.
So an alternate that needs to be explored a little closer is during create daemon. We actually set a timestamp on the daemon description and we kick the servlet. And that's the point in time where we do some action on a daemon, which is the perfect opportunity to say, hey, something has changed. Maybe we should reevaluate this hair state. There might be something there we can key off of.
Yeah. I mean, this is an issue that I think we should tackle from a user perspective. Because, I mean, the better we design the user interaction, the less, bad product seems, I think.
So right now you have a way to kick the surf loop. Yeah, that's called Ceph manager.
Yeah.
Fail.
Yeah, sure. Not very production, right?
No, we have used it. We have used it internally. to make sure that the health warnings for the daemon checks are refreshed. So we've used Ceph Manager Fail already as a workaround for that missing feature of making the health alerts being refreshed cause of
Right, a workaround, right? But I think that's not an
as a
acceptable
workaround.
solution.
Yeah.
Right.
So we definitely have to do that. We definitely have to provide a way to kick the Ceph loop.
Think so too, yeah.
And I think Ceph ls minus refresh needs to kick the Ceph loop anyway, because we just can't do a synchronous refresh. We just can't do it.
Yeah. So the way we would document this is saying, well, fix the issue that you find in health warn, and then, have a look if this error still persists by running ceph org ls -- refresh or wait 6 minutes.
Yes. I think that sounds good to me because people are already using that kind of technique. They just expect that it works, and now it doesn't. So I think yes. I think that's a good idea. In general.
Right. I mean, every time we can reuse something, it's probably a good idea, but I just think that if it's not spec related and we tell them to refresh their specs, people are saying like, oh, well, why isn't there a dedicated command?
It not only returns the specs, but also returns the counts, for example.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a daemon spec mapping somehow, like an overview.
Yeah, it's like a state of Ceph-VDM, LS.
Yeah. Right.
So it's more like just a spec export. So I think it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Okay. Fine by me.
Okay, Mike, what do you think?
Seems okay. I'm just a little concerned about multiple kicks of the serve loop since it's going to just queue up synchronously. But if we have an answer to that, otherwise, yeah, seems okay.
I mean, do we queue up, or are we actually interrupting the serve loop and starting?
No, nothing is interrupted.
Okay. And can we detect if there is a so if we kick multiple times, can we say that there is already this kick process running which triggered serve and saying that this doesn't need to be queued again or something? Is that possible?
Kick serve loop is just I think it's a mutex or something like that. No, not a mutex, but an event. And if you set that event multiple times, it will just do nothing.
All right, so it doesn't queue up.
It doesn't queue anything.
Oh, okay. Well, then sounds kind of safe to me. So if it's not interrupting and not queuing up.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else for that topic?
Just one last thought on that. And isn't that going to cause the entire serve loop to pause until we get an answer back?
Nothing. We're not going to get an answer back. We're just kicking it.
Asynchronously, got it. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Travis, OSD removal design document.
Yes, hello. Where to start with this one? So there have been a lot of changes on the philosophy of OSD removal in Rook since that design doc was originally opened, almost a year ago. And so, yeah, it'd be good to talk through what the new way of thinking is around that and see if that works for you. So the latest thinking is, okay, we don't want Rook to ever basically remove OSDs automatically, because if we ever misinterpret the desired state or the admin puts in the wrong desired state and makes Rook think that that's what they desire to remove all these OSDs, then Rook would automatically remove lots of OSDs, and this would be bad news, of course. So we don't want Rook automatically removing OSDs is the point, at least not as part of the operator. But the thought is that, okay, we still do need to remove OSDs sometimes, and as long as the admin makes a specific decision to do that, then Rook can do a one-time operation where we remove the OSDs based on their OSD ID, for example. So we have a work in progress PR right now, which isn't too far away, that I linked there, 5943, which basically will create a Kubernetes job. So it's a one-time operation which says, okay, given the OSD IDs, or one ID or a list of IDs, go through them and remove the OSD, remove its deployment, clean up its PVC if it's backed by a PVC, remove it from the crush map, or do the OSD purge command, and some things like that. So that way we get a one-time operation that they can remove OSDs with. And it's something that's a very explicit decision by the administrator if they want to run this job to remove OSDs. And it's not something that the operator would drive with desired state. It's just really a one-time operation with this job. So that means from the dashboard, let's say the dashboard had this option to remove an OSD. Well, the dashboard could then tell the orchestrator module for Rook, hey, remove this OSD, and then the Rook orchestrator module could kick off this Kubernetes job to remove that OSD ID. And so that's the quick version of how I see it working and how it's coming together. So does that make sense? What questions do you have, or what requirements do you have? I should ask you if that fits.
So, first of all, we also don't automatically remove OSDs. So we have this. We also have this explicit way of removing things. So we call this Ceph Orchestrator OSD RM, and then a set of OSD IDs. By the looks of it, you are waiting for that process to succeed, right? Is that correct?
That job would, it would synchronously remove or perform all those steps to remove the OSD, and when it's done, the job would exit and be done.
Okay. Well, we kind of do the same thing. So we have some safeguards in place, like OSD okay to stop and safe to destroy, and then we also drain the OSD before actually taking any action on it. Or we'd also have a --force flag, which does not drain before it. But besides that, we more or less do the same thing. We have also a queue implementation in it, so you can query the status, orchestrator RM status, that gives you like a PG count of the OSDs that are currently being removed, when they have started, if they are already done, if they're empty, but will be, actually proper purged the next time the serve loop runs. But yeah.
Okay, good. So there's a similar pattern, at least for Ceph ADM.
Right. Pattern is always drain the disk, wait until Ceph tells you that this is okay to stop or safe to remove, and then purge it, or it will destroy it. The only thing that I don't see in this pull request is the replace methods. But I don't know if that's actually in the scope of this request, because there it's slightly different, and I don't know if Rook actually already supports.
Yeah, Rook does not, and this PR does not handle that case of replace so much. And that PR just cleans up the OSD.
Right.
But if the disk becomes available, if your desired state is to run OSDs on all devices, then it would put a new OSD back on that, but it wouldn't be a replace action. It would be just a new OSD. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but in general, I mean, this seems like the same thing that we're doing. Maybe we have a bit more, some more safeguards in place, like actually really checking if it's empty and if it's okay to stop and safe to destroy and stuff like this. Besides that, same approach.
Right. Yeah, and we should put that same logic into this job too. Like, unless there's a -- force, let's wait until it's safe to destroy.
Right.
Yep. Okay, and Sebastian, I think, did you open that original PR on the design doc? I guess.
Yeah. I never. I was never able to get the time to actually work on it.
Right. Again. I guess with this new proposal, should we just close that design PR and go with what we're already doing with this other, or do you want to update that design doc? It's up to you.
I think I would be okay to close it. But if you want to take it over, for example, like getting the gist out of it and making sure that your that Rook's new OSD removal is backed by a design document, that would be great. But I for one don't have really the time to actually keep it alive. At least right now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it changed so much. How about if you close that PR and yeah, that is a good reminder. I'm going to go look and see where we need to update our design docs anyway for this new approach.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's documented. Okay.
And we probably should use a very similar algorithm for removing OSDs for Ceph ADM and for Rook. That would be great.
Yeah, sounds like we're doing a similar thing there.
Yeah, you can probably shamelessly steal the algorithm.
Yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, is there a design doc for that? I guess we could just even reuse that, or
there was a design doc once, and well, funnily enough, I created actually a standalone manager module that handles the draining and actually the parts that are orchestrator agnostic, but it turns out to be not so nice, and it has a lot of overhead, and Ceph ADM was always the only user of this manager module, so I got rid of it basically just a week ago. So yeah, I will post you the link to the code. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Turns out that we probably won't use the exact same code for Rook and Ceph-ADM, unfortunately.
I think that'll be fine. Rook handles the OSDs in very specific ways with Kubernetes, so I think the overlap won't be as much as we might have thought originally.
Mm. Okay. So do we have a Ceph?
So
we have
any other
a Ceph
questions
ADM?
on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Joshua, do you have a link to your pull request, or is it it is already merged, huh?
Yeah, I'm just about to add this to the pad, but my tab just closed, and I'm not sure why.
Okay, I have it. I have it here.
Sounds good.
Oh.
Oops. Remove it here. Here it is.
Right.
Okay, I've linked it to the other pad. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else for that topic? Removing OSDs.
Not for me. Maybe one quick note on Rook, though. We've got the 1.4 release planned later this week if we keep on schedule. So we're testing upgrades and other things and hoping to get that out. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I have another call now, so I'll just drop at this point, unless there's any other questions for Rook.
I think we're good.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, Travis.
Bye.
Okay. Next Ceph-ADM topic. Unfortunately, Jean-Miguel is on vacation today, as far as I know. There is an open tracker issue. That's 43700. That's about refactoring Ceph-ADM to make it a proper Python package or making it properly developable. The developer experience for the Ceph-ADM binary is really bad right now. I think as far as I remember, Jean-Miguel's idea was to make it possible to have a minus version flag and a proper CLI that is compatible to multiple meta versions. I think that's a great idea. We just have to do some groundwork first, and that's the steps that I outlined here in the other pad. That's removing injected stdin and then make it a proper Python package, plus finally releasing Ceph-ADM. So right now, folks are directly downloading the Ceph-ADM binary from GitHub, which is super awkward because that means that we can't do proper releases of the Ceph-ADM binary. Everything that we merge into the Octopus branch is directly downloaded by users without any proper release between it. And that's super awkward. We need
You're talking about the initial usage of Ceph-ADM.
I'm talking about deploying a new Ceph cluster, how it is documented.
Right, okay. Yeah.
If you go into the documentation.
I'm just thinking that we probably will still continue to SSH copy over the Ceph-ADM when the cluster is deployed. Right?
Yeah, I think the root mode is going to be the default, at least for a while, and until we have properly and thoughtfully figured out what we want to do with the package mode.
Yes.
But having that is, I think, really a prerequisite in order to get rid of the root mode if we ever go to that point. But in any case, people are downloading CephIDM from GitHub, which is super awkward. And we really have to push CephIDM to, I don't know, download.ceph.io somewhere in order to have a step between actually merging pull requests into Octopus and having users to download that and starting it to use and using it. And that will make it possible to add a -- version flag to CephIDM, because right now that's virtually impossible without synchronizing the source code of CephIDM with a version of Ceph. Yeah, and then the last step is to make the package mode also work for updates. Okay. And the last topic, at least from my side, is that I'm getting requests from multiple people that we need to have a way to use one container image throughout the cluster. And as far as I know, Ceph Ansible converts the tag to a digest using the repo digest attribute from the manifest. And my idea was to do exactly the same thing in CephIDM. And that's my pull request that I just shared in the Etherpad. Reviews would be greatly appreciated. Okay. Any thoughts? Nothing. Anything else for today? Any other topics? Any thoughts? Perfect. Okay. Then let's link up next week and enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.